Hey everyone, this is Kristen with the Codex Station with another Codex review. And today I'm going to be reviewing Vampirella versus the Army of Darkness. Now, I need to start with an apology. I actually meant to review this right when Evil Dead Rises came out in April of this year. But in true me form, I accidentally put my comic somewhere and could not find it. So recently found it, read it, now we're ready to review. It's just coming to you a little late. Sorry about that. But before I get into all of this, normally when I do a comic review and it has knowledge that you need to come into the comic with, I let you know how much of that you really have to know. So in this one, where we have Army of Darkness and Vampirella. These are two worlds that are very, very well known to many people. So they have their own characterizations, their own way of doing things, and they have their own really, really, really long pasts. Evil Dead came out in the 80s and has been going strong since then. Vampirella is, I believe, from the early 90s and has been going strong since then. So we have a really, really large history here. Now, for this comic, it is a 4-issue series. It's a standalone story. You do need to have a little bit of knowledge of Army of Darkness. You do not need to have seen the movie, but you need to at least know a small synopsis of the movie, and you need to know the characterization of Ash Williams, who is played by Bruce Campbell. Knowing that will bring a lot more enjoyment to this story. And the only thing that you'll miss out on are the little bit of Easter eggs or the little hidden details that are there for fans of the movie series. So as long as you don't mind missing out on that, you should be okay to follow along with this story. In terms of Vampirella, you really don't need to know much about her. You can read a really quick bio and it'll be just a-okay. The way that she comes through in this comic is very different from her normal comics because we have in the Evil Dead world what are called Deadites, kind of their version of zombies in a way, possessed zombies, is how I'm going to put it. And I know a lot of you are already going, has she really watched the Evil Dead movies? Yes, a lot, so much. But for the layman, we're going to say possessed zombies because that's just easier, but we call them deadites. And they kind of have this issue with Vampirella and kind of turn her into a deadite. So the idea is that you don't need to know a lot about Vampirella because they're going to explain all that as you go in this 4-issue comic, but you do need to come with a little bit of knowledge of Army of Darkness and its main character, Ash Williams. So with that out of the way, let's talk about who did it. So Vampirella versus Army of Darkness actually came out in 2015. It was written by Mark Ronner, penciled and inked. I almost want to say inked in blood and bound in human flesh. But penciled and inked by Jethro Morales, colored by Morgan Hickman, and lettered by Marshall Dillon. So let's get into the nitty gritty, so to speak. Here we have Ash in the world of Army of Darkness. For those that haven't seen the movie, it actually takes place in medieval times in a way. So this actually happens during the events of the Army of Darkness movie. No spoilers for the Army of Darkness movie, really. It's got a little bit of the characters that you have there, but really I would say that this happens during the downtime of the movie because Ash isn't just going ahead and killing all the Deadites 24/7, no end to it. So I would say this is more like, oh, he had a really good day of kicking some deadite butt. So now he's relaxing and he's chilling. And here's what happened in that downtime that you did not see. So that is kind of a really cool concept. I love watching movies, especially cult classics that I love. And you have to realize with these low budget movies, sometimes these stories are very quick. They only have so much time, so much budget, and so much that they can put into film. So sometimes the background is a little bit lost, right? And we don't know what they're doing when they're not on screen, even though there has to be a whole world of things they're doing when they're not on screen. So I love this idea that people are coming with stories, even fan fiction type stories and comics that go, hey, this is my idea of what happened during that downtime. So that right there, a lot of fun. The artwork is amazing. It's very bright and it's very campy, for lack of a better word. Campy in a way that B horror movies are. It has charm. It's got the charm of a B horror film. It's like bright colored, a little bit comic booky, a little bit angular, and it also keeps the charm of all the characters that we do know and love. So it's a lot like watching a B horror film. And I love that. Again, it kind of goes back to this idea of having a lower budget. So you work with what you can. For instance, if you are a fan of the Evil Dead movies, a lot of that zombie makeup was cornflakes. Yeah. Yeah, when we didn't have a lot of makeup and you don't have the funds to get the really good theatrical makeup, you make do with what you have. And cornflakes are a good way to kind of make that um, bumpiness and that grotesqueness in a zombie form. So I don't know, something about the artwork kind of reminded me of that. Now, characterizations. This is kind of where things can sort of get lost in translation. If you saw my review where it was Escape from New York versus Big Trouble in Little China, one of my big issues was the characterizations of these cult characters that we love, Snake Plissken and Jack Burton. And something was lost in the translation from the film to print. This is not the case here. Ash actually portrays in print and comic book super well. The character has this narcissism to him and this what I'll call frat boy charm to him. And I use charm loosely because he's a jerk. He really is. He is a frat boy jerk. He thinks he's God's gift to women, the whole types of lines of give me some sugar, all of that. And yet you keep all of that when you get into print. So I really, really do appreciate that because it really made me sit there and go, oh, this is Ash. Whereas in the Snake Plissken, I was like, this is not Snake Plissken. This is not Jack Burton. There's just something that is missing in translation there. And of course, Vampirella is Vampirella. It's pretty easy to put her characterization into a comic book because vampires are just so multifaceted. You can always kind of mold them to how you need them to be in a story. So nothing's lost there at all. It's Vampirella. I love it. Now, this I thought was interesting. I was trying to think before I read this, what would the pairing of Ash Williams and Vampirella be like? It's not one that I was really thinking of. I did not know how well that they were going to work. Again, we have his egotistical self, Mr. Frat Boy, little bit of jerk, wants to hit on every single woman that he comes across. And then we have Vampirella, an old vampire. She's over it. Humanity, bored, tired, always having to escape, always having to figure out ways to go ahead and save other people and things of that nature. And in this comic, she's only brought there by Ash's stupidity. For those of you that know the movie, Klaatu, Verada, Niktu. If only I had said that correctly, right? But the pairing is amazing. Kind of like how I said with Batman versus Bigby, it was a pairing I did not know I needed. They counterbalance each other so, so well. Honestly, if someone made a TV show of Ash Williams and Vampirella getting into sitcom like shenanigans, I would totally watch it. They work really, really, really well. They are complete polar opposites in every way that you can think of. But I don't know. There's something about that that just screams friendship and the way that they're portrayed in the comic. It just worked so magically well. I did not know that that was a pairing that I was really going to like. I went into this thinking like, I have no idea how this is going to work. This might not work. It totally works. So don't be afraid of that. But I don't want to get too spoilerific on you. So just know that this does happen during the events of Army of Darkness. And Vampirella has been flung into these events as a Deadite because of someone's mispronunciation of Klaatu Verada Nikdu. And I'm going to leave it there. So my rating for this, it's going to be really high. I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Well, Kristen, you've been singing its praises. Why aren't you giving it a 10 out of 10? I want more. I wanted one more issue, like a 5 issue, where it drew out a lot more of the action and the pairing up. I think it would have just given so much more meat to the story. Now, I know I'm not a writer. I don't do comic books. I don't draw or anything like that. So me saying that is easier said than done. But I think if they just added a little bit more to that, I would have enjoyed it even more. I probably would have gone above a 10, given it like an 11 out of 10 or 12 out of 10. But for right now, as it is, a solid, solid 9 out of 10. And I think that's pretty groovy. So that is it for Vampirella versus Army of Darkness. And in case you forgot over these last couple minutes, I'm Kristen with the Codex Station, and this has been a Codex review. And as always, I hope to see you in the next issue.